Hello and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through regular tips and tricks to help you build a professional life you love. This week we are talking about this important reminder that I wanted to share with you, which is this idea that you can always decide again. And this idea is particularly in response to a common mindset hurdle I hear a lot, which is this pressure for the right choice. And the right choice is something that I often hear from clients when we're talking about mindset in terms of these like recurring tapes that come up in the back of their head and the little gremlins that whisper to them and the things that it makes them think and how it negatively impacts our career. And a big one is this feeling that there's a right and a wrong choice and I need to make the right choice because all eyes are on me. And this comes up for a lot of folks. Unfortunately, there's a ton of pressure around here. This black and white thinking is really, really common. I'm curious. Let me know if any of you relate to it. I know this is something that I've certainly done before. But this mindset is not a helpful hurdle because all it does is paralyzes us, right? When we're feeling like all this pressure to say, right choice, wrong choice, better make the right one. It feels very overwhelming and it feels really hard to make any decision. And so all the pressure gets doubled down, right? And so while we see this happen, we need to have that important reminder as our kind of counter to tell us all I can do in any situation is make the best choice I can with everything I know now, knowing that I can always decide again. So this is something common that I talk with clients about is like, more likely than not, it's not a blood oath, right? A lot of decisions, while they will certainly have an impact, and it doesn't mean that there's, I can change my mind and it's going to have no impact at all we can do is move forward and then reassess from there. So perfect example, I had a client who, when we started working together, she was really torn between staying in Denver where she lived or moving to Seattle. And for her, she very much, like we talked about, okay, what's the right choice for you now? And she said, well, I think someday I'm going to move to Seattle, but I think right now, once we talked about it and we came back to what, that clarity and asking her that question based on what you know now, she said, well, based on what I know now, I guess Denver's the right choice for me now, but I think someday I'll move to Seattle. Great. Decision made. And it allowed her to fully be present in living where she lived without constantly feeling like she was straddling the line and being in two places mentally at once. And the really fun part about that story is about a year after we first had that call, so this was early on in the EA days, she came back to me and was like, hey, can we chat again? Like, I think now's the time. It's time for me to move to Seattle. I'm going to chat with my manager about it. And she did, and she has, and she still lives there to this day. But it's a perfect example of this thing that, right, she made the choice for her then, and then later she came back to the choice and stuff had happened, and yet she could still decide again that was the right move for her there. And so I just think this is a really important reminder for all of you as we go into this week is like, you can always decide again. Take some of the pressure off the decisions, because the more we push and put the pressure on right choice, it just paralyzes us and makes us feel stuck in fear. And so if you are feeling stuck with that decision, what I encourage you to do is, one, remember, again, it's not a blood oath. And then two, come back to clarity, right? Because that's always my answer in terms of when I'm feeling stuck on a decision. Let's pull out some of the shoulds. Let's pull out some of the pressure. Let's pull off all of these other layers of stuff and then come back to what it is that you want, because I think that's the best way to make these choices and have them stick long term. So that is my tip for you this week. If you need help, of course, finding any of that clarity or getting answers for yourself, you know where to find me. I'm very easy to track down. Send me a DM, send me a carrier pigeon, send me a email, whatever. And come back to clarity. And remember that all you can do is make the best choice in any situation based on what you know now. Okay? So if you needed this little reminder this week and you're like, pressure off, I don't need to put all this weight on myself, let me know. I would love to know if this landed with you and resonated. But that's all I got for you this week. Okay, friends? So remember, all you can do is make your best decision, right? And you can always decide again as needed. Happy working.